Welcome to another HEB virtual cooking class. I'm your host for tonight, Scott. With me as always, my moderator, my great Google fact checker, and just general keeping me on tracker, the late, great Charlotte Samuel. Charlotte Samuel, how are you?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here,
I'm going to be
always.
here in the chat if anybody has any questions.
Anybody's got any questions, send them to Charlotte. We'll be happy to answer them. Those of you watching live on Facebook and YouTube, welcome. Don't forget, if you're on Facebook, you can always click on the links. If I hold up an item like this and I move real fast, they'll figure it out. Our illumination folks and the techie, you know, the people that are way smarter than I am that know how to do this stuff, you can put it in the chat, they'll click on it, and you can go right to a place you can buy it. It's awesome. That's the power of the internet, folks. All right, we got a big class tonight.
Yes,
it is all about our holiday or Christmas class, and we're going to focus on the kind of the center of the plate. Center of the plate going to be our beef Wellington, but that's not all.
Okay.
We are also going to do, because 'tis the season, we are also going to do our prime rib. So I don't know what you do in the Samuel household for Christmas. Do you do like prime rib? Do you do ham? Do you do turkey? Do you do tenderloin, beef Wellington?
Yes,
maybe?
yes. It's a crapshoot, so we just, we try not to repeat the same thing twice.
Year after year.
So we, mix it up. So we've done enchiladas one year. We've
go.
done, veal rack. One year we smoked a pig. So
Veal rack. Did you do like a whole pig, whole suckling?
Yeah.
Good for you. Way
That's
to
a fun
go.
story. We'll talk about that on another day.
Another day for another time. We are going to focus on the beef Wellington. We got some prime rib. We're going to jump right in. We got a lot of stuff going on. To serve alongside our beautiful beef Wellington, we are going to make a little potato and a baked potato and jalapeno cheese bread gratin. Now here's the thing. Because we are making a beef Wellington, you can notice on the recipe it's about an 8-hour process. We want to do it right. Obviously, we don't have 8 hours to do this. I'd love to say we could do the 8-hour, this is an 8-hour class. I don't know that everybody would survive in here doing that, or if you guys at home watching would survive. But we're going to kind of break it up in steps because we really, so important. I want to show you kind of how this is. I know that beef Wellington's kind of been trending. I know, Charlotte, you said that Gordon Ramsay, he's kind of posted some of his stuff going on. So like it's a thing, I guess, this year. So we're going to do a little beef Wellington. We're going to show you our way to do it. We do a little bit differently, but I think we go more toward the classic way. If you want to make your own puff pastry, God bless you. We wish you the best of luck. Do it. It's easy to do. Pat brise, really simple. Roll it out, fold it up. But we're all about cutting some corners, saving yourself some time, saving yourself a little more drinking time, if you would, a glass of wine. We just use the frozen puff pastry because it's easy. It's been laminated by machine. It's got beautiful layers of butter. It's really simple, and it just save yourself some time. But if you want to go big, you want to do it all, do it all. We applaud you, want you to do it. And we're going to finish up. We kind of added this last minute because we got so many bakery pies. It was like, it'd be a shame to have all this great pies and to kind of do something, all from scratch, and then kind of do our hack that we like to do, our little chef hack. But then also, like, if you're going to get a pie, you don't want to make it from scratch. By the way, you can always rewatch classes from this past year on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/HEB, and check out how to make pies, gingerbread houses, which she just made about a week ago. So many great things, but we're going to show you how to make a classic caramel sauce to go along with your store-bought dessert or your pies. We've got a lot of HEB pies I'm going to show you. But I'm going to kick it up one more notch. We're going to make a salted caramel sauce from scratch. I'm going to show you how to do it. Burned it in rehearsal because I wasn't watching, so we switched it up, and now I'm going to do it so it gets all my attention. It's so easy to make. It's literally 4 ingredients. Let's get started. All right, so we're going to do this. Let's do the prime rib. So if you are doing a prime rib, excuse me while I step away. I have right here.
At all that meat.
Like I need to just throw it because it's like 11 pounds of meat. So I've got a 5-pound natural prime, actually no, this is prime rib, 5 pounds, 6 pounds prime rib. And you can see like what makes it prime. Here, I'll just show you. So you can see that marbling on there. That prime is it's just a difference. It's prime choice select. There's the Wagyu we also offer. Prime is great. It has enough marbling in there to where I'm not a huge, I don't know about you, Samuel, I'm not a huge love the Wagyu, love the fat. I love what it means. I love what it is. But for me, I could go without all that extra fat. Prime is great. It's a great cut of meat.
Your heart thanks you.
And and you can get these. You see how mine are trussed? You can see our big guy over here. We'll just call him Bruce Banner, and we'll call these other two ancillary ones a little smaller. Bruce Banner over here has already been fully trussed. He's ready to go. So at your local HEB meat market, you can grab one of these guys, fully trussed. Now, we do at certain times, depending on the store you shop in, you can also find them pre-seasoned as well, but you can definitely find them trussed, trimmed, and ready to rock and roll, which is what I've done. Now, if you don't see one in the size you want, don't freak out. Just simply go to your meat market counter, ask one of those fantastic meat market partners, say, hey, how do I got to feed 30 people. He's going to go, you're going to need a couple. But they'll happy to trim it down for you. Same thing with our tenderloin, which I'm going to talk about in just a second. But this is how we're going to season these. So if you're kind of like, if you're doing this for the first time, I want to take all the intimidation out of it. It's really, really great. I want to introduce you to the intimidation. So this, if that's Bruce Banner, this would be the Hulk. And this is what's going to regulate, and this is where all the fury comes from. And this is how you're going to keep yourself out of trouble. So a digital thermometer, this costs $13 at H-E-B. Now, we have an upgraded model. Should you want something a little fancier with, say, perhaps a blue screen? Oh, we also have that. This is like $16. It's like $3 more. Both are fantastic. What this is going to do, both on our beef Wellington and on one of these cuts of meat, is simply insert it into the meat, just like that, center of the meat. You want to make sure your probe is in the center of the meat, wherever that is, and you set it and forget it. That way you set the timer. I want it to go off I want it medium rare. I'm going to do 135 or 130, or I want to do it really well done because I got people that only like well done. No problem. Set it, you let it sit. That way, this is what the holidays look like. You're doing stuff, you're busy, kids, family, everybody's in, you're doing this for the first time, you're like, oh, all of a sudden you go, is that the smoke detector? And you like run inside, you're like, cool, so I spent a lot of money on this prime rib and I burned it. Save yourself the trouble, save yourself the headache, just buy the probe thermometer. It literally is magnetic, it sticks on the side of your oven, and it's just like, it's gold. And that way, all you gotta do, you season it, you do it. Let's do it. Okay, I got my probe thermometer here. So, oil, always oil up your prime ribs. I'm going to do two different ways. This is so easy. There's nothing magic about this. The only magic is because these are such big pieces of meat. I've got a 6-pound prime rib, beautifully trimmed, all trussed, and I've got a 5-pound prime rib. I don't want to season them gingerly. This is not, leave your gingerly somewhere else. This is not the time for gingerly. You want to season these aggressively season them. And I typically will let them rub them with oil all the way around. So I'm going to do one with a little bit of fresh herb, Charlotte.
Okay.
And all we're going to do is just wrap these up. You know what's really fun is trying to itch a scratch on your face or try to grab something when your hands are coated in olive oil. It always happens, right? It's like, I've got an itch on my face. I got to touch my face. And I'm like, I can't. It's going to leave that streak. And you guys will just see the shiny mark all down my face. We don't have any powder here. This is all live. It's all unscripted. It all just goes with the flow. All right, the first one, my recommendation for prime rib, season it and let it sit overnight. Reason being is you want to make sure that it has time to soak up all that great flavor. This one's just going to get, I've got a little bit of our True Texas barbecue. This is just me being lazy, but it's also just giving us an easy way to do this, is it's already got the salt and pepper mixed in a perfect blend.
I think you should reframe or rephrase and say, this is me being resourceful.
Well, I mean, let's call a spade. Lazy's lazy, right? So
All
I
right,
can just
well,
say,
I
I
was
want to
trying to help
be
you out there,
resourcefully lazy. What? Look at how I just did that. I'm going to be resourceful and lazy at the same time. But you see, I am not being shy with this. You want to really layer this on. What I love about the True Texas barbecue rub, it's like a 2-to-1 blend of the pepper and salt. So you really get a lot of that great black pepper flavor. So this is done. This is going to sit, and over time it's going to dry brine, right? It's going to kind of take the time. It's going to like start pulling out some of the moisture. It's going to let some of that salt and pepper flavor in. Because last thing you want, you could roast this straight away, 100%, it'd be fine. But you want to be able to make sure everything is seasoned and salty, especially with meat. You got a beautiful cut of prime rib, season it aggressively, let it sit to kind of marry all those flavors. Same thing with this guy. We got olive oil on it. I'm going to hit it with our salt and pepper again, aggressive. This is just not enough, Charlotte.
So
you need to get it in
there's
there.
something about like when you season it and you have to just like pat
like
it.
This?
I have a question.
Yes.
So some of the prime ribs, you know, they don't fit in everybody's budget. So like,
It's true.
Could we do a chuck eye roast?
Anything.
What would be a good alternative?
I think any of those. I do love our chuck roast. Those things that are small. I mean, also you can get like a, corner piece of brisket. You could. I mean, you don't have to do prime rib. You could do really. I mean, it's whatever suits your budget, but also whatever suits you. You can make anything taste good, right? I mean, I think we've proven that you can basically take any ingredient. Doesn't have to be the best of the best to make it taste good. No. It's just applying the proper technique, the proper seasoning. I think that's one of the biggest things that they talk about between like a home cook and a home chef, or a chef and a home cook, is just seasoning. It's just seasoning aggressively. So I've got my salt and pepper on here. So I'm going to take a little bit of fresh rosemary. I'm just going to kind of peel this off. Now, I want to show you something else. Now, don't worry about this. It looks like it's going to fall off, and it probably will. But we can do a little, so we talked about larding earlier. Charlotte and I were talking about larding, where you could take pieces of bacon and roll this over the top of this, like coat one of it in bacon. And then as you're roasting it, you're going to get that smoky, bacony, flavor going along with it. I like to do a little bit of this. So I'm going to put a couple of holes in this.
Ooh.
And I have my garlic here.
Okay.
And I just kind of give it a little smash, just a light smash to get some of the oils awakened. And you can just kind of pop them in there.
Hey, quick question, man.
Yeah.
Like, I know we're going to put these guys in the oven,
yes.
But if we were going to go, so after we take them out of the oven, do we want them to be room temperature, or can we go from cold to hot?
Great question. No, I would always let your meat sit at room temperature. Reason being, you're going to get a much more even cook on it, because over a long roasting time, and I used to be like, with my prime rib, I do that whole thing where blast it at 500 degrees and then turn it down, let it go. Honestly, I've found I get better results just going low and slow. 300 to 325, just nice and low. And then just let it kind of do its thing. This is just me showing you a couple different techniques for this. I'm putting some of this garlic in the fat here, just a light little crush, some fresh herbs. So this is how I would kind of do this. Peel some off of the herbs, but then lay the stems on top. Why? Because the stems also have a lot of flavor. If I do this, guess what? I'm just releasing some of those natural oils. Put it all on top. You would saran wrap this entire thing. Let it sit overnight. Give it some time. All the essential oils from the actual herbs are going to kind of bleed in there. That salt's going to pull out some of that flavor. It's all going to mingle, and it's going to be fantastic. All right, we're going to put this in here. That's going to go. There's your prime rib. Really, really easy. It's nothing fancy. It's not a lot of fat on the top. It's a little bit of olive oil. Super simple. All right, let's make beef welly, the beef Wellington. So a beef Wellington, I want to see if I can calm anybody's fears that are like, oh, it's raw meat. It's really weird, it's all this stuff. Beef Wellington is typically always done with tenderloin or filet mignon, simply because of the amount of fat in it. You want a leaner cut of meat because we're gonna wrap it in puff pastry. So if we did like this big guy, if we took Bruce Banner, that's his name, Bruce Banner, it's gonna be really tough for whoever has to take him home and eat him, because it's gonna be weird, you're eating Bruce Banner, but I'll leave that to whoever takes that home.
That took a turn.
Bruce Banner, if we were to try and, can you imagine wrapping this in puff pastry? It'd take a lot of puff pastry. It'd be a lot of dough kind of everywhere. But not only that, once this thing started to cook, all that beautiful fat that you want on top of a prime rib is going to make all that crust soggy, right? So the filet we're going to use, and I'm going to show you, we trim these guys up. I didn't trim it up. My friend Nick trimmed them up.
Okay, really quickly though, I want, since we're talking about this prime rib, if we were to say use a smoker,
yes.
would we season the same? And marinate
yes.
the same? Okay.
That's actually a really good question. My only caution, so for the tenderloin, totally fine to smoke. If you're going to do prime rib, be really, really careful. The amount of fat on this will hold a lot of that smoked flavor, which can sometimes be a little acrid.
Yes.
So if you're going to smoke it, or you have a smoker, or you're good, it's delicious to lightly smoke it and then finish it in the oven. Because if you were to try to do the whole thing on this, and we've done this, so for my taste, it was way too smoky, because all of that smoke, and we use post oak, just got trapped in the fat. Every time you ate it, you're like, whew, it was like eating an ashtray. So you can kind of counterbalance that by basically just taking it and just doing a light smoke on it for an hour or so, and then pulling it out and then throw it in your oven to kind of finish it up. Because the little bit of smoke is fantastic, but full smoke in there was for my taste, it was just too much. But hey, you know what? You got a green egg or a nice smoker, then try it. So I've got a nice little, this is like a 2.5 pound filet mignon, 3 pounds is fine. You can see here though that on my filet, we have kind of a, and I'll show this like this, Rob. There's a heavier side and there's a smaller side, which is by design. That's the way the tenderloin is. So it kind of would go a little further. We got the Chateaubriand cut, and then it kind of splits out over here. This is fantastic because if you're worried about making the beef Wellington because you're like, you know what, look, we have people that like stuff that's 195,000 degrees, that like it where you literally it's like ash, or we have people that like it black and blue where it's just literally touch it in a pan and serve it to me, that's all I want. So the good news about this is if you're going to do that, you can either take 2 pieces, put your thermometer, probe.
There you go.
What I was looking for. I'd like to buy a vowel, please. Probe. P is what I was looking for. What does he win, Charlotte? Nothing, because he got the word wrong. All right, you put your probe thermometer in, and then you can cook it to the right temperature. But if I put it in on this side, the fatter side, if I'm going to 140, let's say, that's the targeted temperature you wanted, by the time this is at 140, this is going to be a little more cooked. So you can always kind of, tier it that way so somebody can go, okay, hey, I like mine a little more well done. You can just give them the other side, or just put it back in the oven. They can put their piece, slide it, put it back in the oven for a few minutes. Not a big deal at all. Or you can just cook 2 separate ones, wrap them both up, cook one to 160 and one to the temperature you want to be at, where it's 135 or whatever that is. Either way is fine. All right, we need to sear this bad boy up. So I'm going to do it reverse. So we make the duxelle. So what is the duxelle? Charlotte, what is a duxelle?
A duxelle?
Duxelle?
Do you want me to, is this rhetorical?
Nope,
Are you going to answer it? Okay. So a duxelle is basically like, it's shallots and mushrooms and some people use breadcrumbs, but you don't have to, but herbs. And it's chopped up and you cook it down to this dry deliciousness and you use this to insulate and flavor our Wellington.
It's so
You can
good.
use it to stuff all sorts of stuff. You could do like chicken
Raviolis.
duxelle, ravioli.
Anything. Pâtés.
Yeah.
You asked me earlier if I was going to do foie gras, and I'm not a fan of foie gras
It's okay.
at all. So I just leave the foie gras off this completely. Also, it's not in my budget to go get foie gras, and that's okay too. So
okay.
It actually works out pretty well. We're going to season the filet really, really well. We're going to sear it up, and while we're doing that, I'm going to make the duxelle. The duxelle is very, very simple. I've got some sliced cremini mushrooms. We're going to do about 1 pound of them.
Okay.
And I'll show you why. And this is, if I've never introduced you, this is Martha. She's our mixer. She's seen better days, so I'm going to hope she's going to work. We went through the rehearsal here. She's done well. She's been with us a long time. She's a part of the family. All right, some fresh thyme.
I have to have this conversation with you because...
Is it going to be a crucial conversation? Like,
this
is it
is
going to be
crucial.
something where...
It is.
All right.
It's
You
about
gonna give
time.
me some feedback?
Yeah, feedback. So I enjoy mushrooms, the
Yes.
flavor of mushrooms, but
Okay.
sometimes I'm not so wild about the texture of mushrooms.
You're not alone in that. I don't think you're alone at all.
Yes,
I think
and
that's
our
very
chat is
common.
blowing up with this. And so what would be a cool alternative?
So, to mushrooms?
Yeah.
So, you can use... God, I don't...
like nuts. Could we use like some cool
I mean, you
like
could.
chestnuts or walnuts or something?
You could. I've never actually tried that. You probably could. You just would be worried about like how much, like what would they cook like? How would they cook?
Maybe some breadcrumbs and some.
You could breadcrumbs. I mean, you could really do. I mean, you could use red pepper if you wanted to, like roasted red peppers. You could puree that as long as you cook everything out of it well enough. You could probably surround it whenever you wanted. I love the. There's a lot of seafood. Wellingtons, like halibut, all these different ones, like salmon belly Wellingtons, which are always really cool. And they're actually really fun to do because salmon and those fishes they don't take as long to cook as like a tenderloin would. And so those are also kind of fun. All right, I got garlic, I got shallots.
Okay.
I'm just kind of roughly chopping these guys. About 1/3 of a cup of shallots here. If you like more shallots, then go big, go more. I'm going to put the lid on here. All right, Martha, let's work. She'll get it done. She's reliable, she's tried and true. So we're just going to puree this. Now, you could, with a typical duxelle, you could actually just chop it up really, really finely, and then you would saute it, almost like a brunoise, a really fine thing. Here's my reasoning for using the food processor is it's not just for convenience or laziness. It's also because mushrooms are like 70% water. That's a lot of water. And so inside of a Wellington, it's like if you've ever had a soggy pie, like you don't want so much moisture that it's going to dry out the puff pastry that we put over. It's like we lovingly want that like beautiful crust to kind of set up. If it's too much moisture, it's just going to make the bottom soggy and you'll kind of go to pick it up. Now, as the meat rests, it gets a little soggy, but we're going to try and do our best to cook everything really, really well. All right, Martha's taking a little bit of time. That's okay. So it's going to get wetter. Again, mushrooms, a lot of moisture in mushrooms. It's going to get a little bit wet. You'll start to notice it. That's totally fine. We're literally pureeing this to where it looks like ground beef. And then we're going to put it in a hot saute pan once our beef is done. So here's how we're going to do I'm going to turn this guy on. I'm going to get it hot. Get your pan hot. Now, I'm going from a cold refrigerator straight to a hot pan.
Okay.
The reason I'm doing this, normally I would let this sit at room temperature if I was ready to cook it, but because I'm going to cool this down before I put the duxelle on there, I just need it to kind of sit at room temperature once it's done searing. All we're trying to do is get a really nice crust. A little bit of olive oil on the pan here. Again, I don't like to put a ton of oil actually in the pan where it can start to burn because I'm working with a really high temperature because I want to get a really nice sear. We're looking for that Maillard reaction. If I were to put just a raw piece of like tenderloin in there, wrap it in puff pastry, I don't want you to cut it and then you're like, oh cool, a gray lifeless piece of tenderloin that I spent a lot of money on. Like we don't want to do that. We want to get a little caramelization, a little Maillard reaction. Now they've proven that it doesn't do anything. It doesn't like seal in moisture to sear off the meat. I think they've realized that it doesn't really do that in the long run, but what it does do is that Maillard reaction, or that caramelization of the proteins on the actual beef, is going to give you flavor, number one. And it's also going to provide a little structure, which I think, Charlotte, you said, it kind of helps reduce the amount of moisture that's let off because we're kind of creating that crust on it. So it'll help a little bit, but you notice this is not shy seasoning. This is full blown. I got a big thick piece of meat here. We are getting after the seasoning. All right, I got it all nice and ready to go.
I mean, as a chef,
there's
something disappointing about when you you prepare something like, especially something like this that takes so much time and energy, and then you're like, oh, it needed salt. Like, that's a bummer.
Right? So at every stage, and what's funny is once we're done searing, we're just going to sear this quickly. We're going to get it in the fridge. Once we're done searing this, we're going to do the duxelle, and you'll see, like, before I even season the duxelle, which there's a lot of moisture in those mushrooms, it's going to start to kind of bubble up. You'll see the water kind of rising as it's getting hot. As soon as I hit it with the salt, you're going to see all that moisture kind of like wick off, and it'll all be in the pan, and we're just going to reduce that. We want the duxelle to be really, really nicely reduced and dry. All right, I've got two here, so I want to show you this as we're moving here. Again, this is a process. What you would normally do from this point is you would season it, you let it rest overnight. That way everything can kind of come together. That way you've got this beautifully seasoned salt and pepper beef, and no matter what you do from there on out, once it's sat long enough to kind of get those flavors, just like the prime rib, it's really had time to it's soaked up the flavor, it's got salt, it's feeling confident, all the flavors are mixing well, it's good to go. All right, I'm gonna turn this way up. This is my K&T pan, so I'm choking on pepper. It's good though. That's why I like the True Texas Barbecue salt and pepper, because there's a little more pepper than salt in this, and I feel like that, Charlotte, right, like you can't beat just really good salt, really good pepper, and really good, just meat. It's just like, that's the keto, I think, Franklin's, right? That's the whole thing. I'm gonna turn on my fan for just a split second. We've done a few things in this kitchen over the past year. We've smoked ourselves out a few times, and it looks like somebody's like, hey, are they okay in there? And Charlotte and I are like, so I want to do myself a favor, turn on the fan for a quick second. All I'm looking to do, it's like 2 minutes aside. Sear it on all sides, get it nice and caramelized. I don't know if you can see this, Rob. I'm gonna turn it around. Can you see our little, where the color starts to go away here?
Ooh.
Or, see it? Oh, there it is. I can kind of see it now, that angle. So we're just getting a little sear. Rotate it on all sides. If you have a side, again, every tenderloin's a little bit different. At this point, this kind of looks like, if I turn to this side, it looks a little bit like the tuna tartare, right? Like a little seared tuna.
Hey,
it's got that little bullseye.
What temp are you at on that pan?
This pan, I'm at high heat.
High heat.
I'm over high heat. I got the oil on the actual, so what you're seeing smoking is more the actual meat itself caramelizing and not all the oil that's all burning, because I just coated it with enough oil to kind of keep it insulated and just kind of make sure it gets seared up. So you can see it's not really, that's all I'm gonna do. This is gonna go away. I'm gonna put it over here on a rack to rest. That guy's gonna go. I'll put it in the fridge in a second once it's cooled down. In this pan, same thing. I'm gonna do a dry pan. Now if you wanna add a little oil, you can. You don't have to. The duxelle's going in. Wait for it here, wait for it. Are you ready for this, Charlotte? Same pan. Again, things that are going together can be in the same pan, no problem.
That's right, get all those flavors from the fond on the bottom of the pan. Okay, so
turn this off.
Could
smoking.
you do pork if you wanted to?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Pork,
fantastic.
Pork Wellington. I mean, you could do.
I've seen them
fish
do
Wellington,
salmon
and you
and
could do
crude,
salmon belly Wellington.
Yeah.
Any of those, any of that cod loin Wellington. If you don't eat meat or you're a pescatarian, 1,000% you could do any of those. Obviously, your cooking time is going to vary. So just know that obviously, if we have a 3.5 pound fillet and you're using like a pound of fish that's rolled up, just know that cooking time is going to be vastly different. So just kind of gauge it based on the cooking time. All right, you see my little duxelle over here?
I
so I'm
see
in a
your
dry
duxelle.
pan. Do you kind of see? Where'd my spatula
Look,
go?
let's all be honest.
Let's all find my spatula. Where'd it go?
Up front,
Did it run away?
duxelle is not that beautiful,
It's
right?
not.
But trust me, the flavor is delicious.
We are creating, that's right, we are creating layers of flavor. So here we go. So we're going to saute this real fast. So this gets sauteed. I'm going to hit it with some salt, and you're going to see all that beautiful. Again, at every layer, we want to keep this seasoned, because the puff pastry may have just a little bit of salt in it, or if you're making a pâte brisée from scratch and you're going to roll it in that, it may be, you may have a little bit of that salt in there. But we want to make sure the duxelle, all those mushrooms, all that great umami flavor, that natural glutamate. We talk about like the natural glutamate or MSG that comes in a lot of things naturally. And mushrooms are very full of those glutamates, which gives that like umami, that like that savory, the real nice savory flavor.
Savory, yes, thank you. So that umami is that savory, like kind of satiating flavor, very good. Like that you would get from like chicken soup or or Doritos.
Chicken soup, which have MSG on them. That's exactly right. Yeah, that's where you get the most of that flavor. All right, do you see my water here? See the water starting to evaporate? All this needs to go away. You need to make sure it's really, really dry. And what it looks like, I'm going to speed time up here. This is what it looks like. So this is that's our duxelle that has been, and I'm going to kind of watch that over there. Charlotte, actually watch it because I've already burned a few things tonight.
Okay, what am I watching?
Just the duxelle. Just keep a close eye on the duxelle. So this is what it looks like. So afterward, it's got a little bit of moisture in it, but not much. It's very, very dry. We cooked 16 ounces of mushroom down to about a cup. So that's what we're looking for. And it's got all that flavor. It's all caramelized. So let's make the Wellington. So here is, as we're doing this again, because we're taking an 8-hour process and shrinking it into 30 minutes. This is what this looks like. We have our duxelle. This is how we're going to wrap this. This is where the magic kind of happens. So we have 2 stages to this. We want to adhere the duxelle, and I'm going to make sure you guys can see this. I'm just going to pull some plastic wrap off of here, give myself some room. I'm going to take this guy down without knocking over my sugar and flour. Here we go. All right. So I have our little, this is where we're going to wrap up our tenderloin here. This is the easiest way to do this, and I think it's the most foolproof way. Put your duxelle right in the center of your thing there, and I realize, Rob, that may not be dead center for what we need, so I'm going to try and make it work out. Here we go. All right, so the duxelle has been cooled. So now the mixture is cooled. We're just going to spread this out. All you need to do is spread it out big enough to fit your tenderloin in the center of it. So however big that is, you just need to spread it out, and you need to make sure it's just kind of coated on all sides. Just going to kind of spread this out. I'm kind of excited because you think it's not going to work, or you think it's like, that's never going to work, it's never going to stick. Trust me, it will stick. And all this is going to create that great flavor. And it's also like, as it rests, all the normal like juice that would kind of drain off your filet, it's all going to kind of be in the bottom of that crust along with the mushroom, and it's unbelievable. I can't wait for you guys to try it. We should like auction off Bruce Banner up here. We should get, he's a great cut of meat right there. That is a serious, that's like if I had a 6-pounder, that's probably like an 8-pounder right there, maybe more. That's a big one. That'll feed an army right there. Whoops. So here we go, painting. This is where I realized when I did art as a kid in elementary school, they knew I was never going to do. They were like, you're never going to be. This is like, because I was trying to spackle and do stuff, and they were like, just go sit in the hallway, Scott. And I'd be like, all right, fair enough. All right, so we're going to take our, I'm just going to take you through the steps of my life, and we'll all get through it together. We'll just do a little therapy session. This is like therapy for me. The plastic wraps. You see what I did here, Charlotte? Here we go. So I'm going to wrap this around, and I'm just going to slowly kind of wrap it. And you can kind of tighten it up, wrap it, release the, sorry, my big fat head's in the way. Can you guys see it? All right, there we go. So we're going to do just like this. Now, from here, we want to kind of tuck the sides in so all that great stuff just kind of sits in, seals all this in.
There you
we're going to kind of roll it up. And we're going to kind of make like a, see all this? So we're going to kind of roll and roll. And we're just going to kind of take the edges and just kind of roll them up.
I think we described this as unceremoniously rolling.
So this is what we want to see. And then when we take it out of the fridge to put it in the puff pastry, this will all kind of stick together. Now I'm going to rush time here because I've got one that I've already seen here, but I want to show you this. So if we're going to rush right to the puff pastry here, I want to show you puff pastry. How am I doing on time? Am I right on time? This guy, the meat was cold, the duxelle was cold, this is all ready to go, so I'm going to just basically do this. So here's my puff pastry. This is our store-bought puff pastry. No big deal. You'll recognize it when you see it. It has the classic 3-fold with the paper in the middle, kind of keeping it all set. I have a wet towel over my puff pastry. Reason being is because sometimes it can dry out really, really easily, and I want to make sure it doesn't dry out. So, but what you also want to do is you want to make sure it's not dry before you start using it. So if you feel the corners, just kind of go around the corners. If it feels dry, you can either spray it with a little bit of water, just a touch, or just cover it with a wet paper towel for a few minutes, just kind of let it soften up a little bit, and then you can work. But you want to make sure, we've done all this work until now. We've bought the filet, we've seared it, we're making the duxelle. You watching my duxelle?
I am.
I'm watching it. Here
there
we go.
It is.
So it looks like it's starting to get like ground beef, right? Here we go. But you see how much moisture has been taken out of it? There's not a lot of moisture in the pan. The bottom is a little bit wet, but it's not really. All right, I'm going to kind of spread that out again.
So I've got a viewer who is using a Vitamix instead of a like a Cuisinart or a food processor.
Food processor, yeah.
And so she's having an issue with some of her mushrooms. Can you give me a good descriptor of what like we would look for? What is like sand? It can either be, you can absolutely fully puree it if you want to, or you can just leave some of the pieces a little bit bigger and it's totally fine. So don't freak out if you can't get it like, if it feels like there's some pieces that my food processor does the same thing. It's got some pieces are bigger, some pieces are smaller. And if you're using a Vitamix, don't worry about, you can just either puree the whole thing to where it's really, really just smooth. And then you're going to cook it anyway. You're going to cook all the moisture out. And the finer texture it is doesn't bother me at all for this application because you can kind of spread it. You saw with mine. It's kind of spread it a little smoother like a paste. So it's totally fine. Don't worry about it. All right.
Don't stress.
Then, I have 2 more questions about the seasoning.
Yes.
Salt. Is it okay to omit the salt?
Yes.
And then would you use like extra garlic or something else in its
So are you, is it just kind of more salt, like just kind of trying to be like health, like trying to kind of just be less salt on the whole thing in general? Because you can omit the salt and you can absolutely up the flavors. You can add a little bit of acid to your duxelle in the form of like a sherry vinegar or sherry wine to kind of up the flavor, but you can't really replace salt with anything. I mean, the natural glutamate in the mushrooms will kind of help a little bit, but without the salt, like just know, and if you're used to eating that way, totally not a big deal at all. But just know, like you can do a lot of things to it, but if you don't have the salt, there's only so much you can really.
So is it the saltiness? Like, is it like?
You want this? Well, you definitely want the salt in all this.
Yeah.
For
so the question really is, it depends on why we're removing the salt. So
why you're removing the salt? Yeah, you can absolutely.
A health-related issue, okay. But if it's like just because you're salt sensitive,
yeah, totally fine. Yeah, no big deal. Just know sometimes it will affect the flavor. If you're used to doing that, 100%, it's totally fine. It will not affect the way the recipe finishes by any means. If that's what the question was.
You could definitely add a little bit of tomato paste into your.
You could also has a lot of glutamate in there. Absolutely. All right, so I've kind of ruled out my puff pastry. So the biggest thing about this is you want to make sure this does not stick. The worst thing you can do is once you get all this unwrapped and in here, you go to wrap it and you roll it and that thing just tears because it's stuck to the bottom. So just do yourself, get a good flour flicking, this is our flour flick all over the place just to make sure it's good and saturated. This is not going to go anywhere. I've got a nice coating on the bottom here. And again, if a little flour's on top, it's okay because remember, we are going to be cooking this in the oven where it's all going to be insulated, so the flour will actually help thicken some of that and help draw in some of that moisture. So it's not a bad thing if we have a little extra flour on the board here. Following so far? Think so good? All right, check this out. This is just we just rolled. I recommend letting this at least sit in the fridge for like half an hour or so. But I want to show you this. We're going to go right in the center here. And I'm going to go where it's like a little chintzy on one side down. Just like that. Are you ready for this? Come on, there it is, the duxelle held.
Ooh,
so obviously the longer you let it sit, the better it's going to be, but here's how we're gonna do this. Fold it. I don't know if it's like a diaper, but I wanna say fold it like a diaper, but I don't think this is how you fold a diaper. You fold it over.
No, it's not how you fold a diaper.
Cross over, you have the tabs, you unbutton the tabs, you stick everything. I'm folding it over and I'm gonna refold it back over, and where the crease is where I wanna bake it, but I want you to show you real fast, and Rob will kind of position here. You see where my crease is? Just kind of use your finger and just kind of push that down a little bit just so it kind of sticks. And then we're going to bake it crease side down so we have this beautiful kind of no crease on the bottom. That would all kind of seal up. For the sides, we are going to roll it over on its crease, like we said. Oops, stay together, everybody.
Seam, you could say
seam.
The seam.
Seam, crease, seam, yeah. It's tomato, not really.
Is
she was
it?
Right. Kind of crimp that down just like so.
Yep.
Crimp it, and then we're just going to fold it under. Fold that bad boy under. That's it. Fold it under. That's going to kind of help us seal everything in. If at all you fail on this or it starts to rip, don't worry about it. You got extra sheets of puff pastry, just kind of pull some off and just literally, it's like bandage. It's just like put a Band-Aid on that bad boy. No big deal at all. All right, let me get out my pan here. Let me get our roasting pan. So because we have a little bit of that, I'm not going to use parchment. I'm actually going to use, we found this great thing called duck fat, and it's awesome.
Yeah, that's duck fat in a spray can.
It's duck fat in a spray can. All right, you see this? Duxelle is ready. So they say don't burn the duxelle, but it's just like everything. Caramelization is flavor, right? This is actually, I'm okay with this. Do you see how dry this is, though? This is kind of how you want to be. You don't have to take it so far. I would have been good probably about 3 minutes ago, but this is totally fine. The heat's off and let that sit. That's got to cool, and then that'll be what you saw we wrap around our puff pastry. So I'm going to spray a little duck fat because we're going to use a little duck fat on the recipe we're going to use in a second. But this is like ingredients on the back. You ready for this, Charlotte? Benzoyl fat. Nope, it's just duck fat. Just straight duck fat. That's all it is. Duck fat on the bottom. I'm going to put this right over the top here.
I'm having so many emotions about that. I don't even know.
Duck fat in a can? Duck fat in a spray can?
It's like...
What's not to love? All right, so I have this. We're going to give this an egg wash, and then I'm going to show you how to kind of design it. In full disclosure, I am not an artist when it comes to how we're going to decorate or do anything like that. If you wanted to, if you can get those fancy pastry cutters, I think the one that Gordon Ramsay did, he had that little design on there. I'm going to show you the way I kind of like to do it.
You mean Gordy?
It works.
Gordy?
Oh, that's right. I forget you guys are on a first.
GR?
You guys are on a first name basis.
You know
I forget
he's
that you guys.
famous for his beef Wellington.
His beef
I
Wellington,
was
that's right.
waiting for you to bring this up.
So he does prosciutto on his, and I'm more of a pure. I kind of just like which is, I mean, it's a great move. Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
Like, I mean, I'm not. He knows what he's doing for sure. But I just
some
like
Michelin stars.
the Duxelles period on it because to me, I'm like, I mean, I love the cured meat. You get a little bit of pork fat. You got that saltiness from the prosciutto. But I'm like, to me, I'm like, I just don't. For me, like try it this way, and then you can always go back and you can layer it with prosciutto. You can do speck if you want a little smokiness to it.
I think
that's also really good.
Adds some flavor, right? And it kind of keeps
absolutely.
But I think it also acts as a barrier.
Yes,
I think
100%.
there is a little bit. I've read where people
go.
use crepes. They wrap the
the
Wellington in crepes.
You can it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be puff pastry. I think it's just classic to kind of do it in puff pastry or the pâte brisée, basic dough. Back of your knife, I'm using a serrated blade.
They use the crepes to wrap around the beef before they wrap it to hold in that moisture.
Oh, so it's like a double insulated.
Yeah.
I'm learning something new every time we do this. All right, you're going to take the back of your knife, serrated blade, again, the non-sharp part. This is how I do it. This is like, again, my 5th grade art teacher would probably be like, oh, Tompkins, why? But I'm just going to show you this. So really gently, I'm just going to score it with a few marks. So and this is where, like, if you want to get crazy, if you got like pastry stamps, you can like stamp it, you can do fork stuff all over it. It's however you want to do it. I'm going to kind of do the same thing here, and I'll show you from the top. So it's just a real simple kind of design here. That's it. And the same thing on the other side here, and if I can connect the dots, fantastic. That didn't happen in rehearsal, but that's all right, I'll take it. And then I'll just kind of connect the lines over on the other side here. So you see how we're doing that? It's nothing super fancy, right? But hey, it gives us a little bit of design. It's nice and pretty. This goes in the oven. Now, but wait, we forgot to put the Hulk in. This is the whole reason. This is how we rage. Because if not, I'd put this in there, I'd get to chatting with Charlotte, we'd talk, and I would be like, what am I doing? So I'm going to insert this fat side in, big side, into the oven, 400 degrees or 425, whatever you want to do, or a little bit lower and slower if you need to. And I'm going to set our thermometer here. 212 is too well done for me. Maybe not for you, but we're going to do 135.
Okay.
Does that work for you?
Yep.
Is that a happy place? You want to go more or less?
It is. I think that works really well for me. So I do want to have a question. So
yes, ask me.
I have a question. So if you were going to prepare this for individual portions, right? Would you do like a small 4-ounce fillet?
Yes, I'm glad you said that. You could take the fillet that we have, and I'll show you this real fast before we make our little potato thing here. You could take your fillet, just like this guy, and we could portion this out, into our little portions. We could wrap each one in its own individual puff pastry. It's a little more work, but you could absolutely do it and you'd bake them. The only problem with that is usually the probe thermometer, which is really nice when you're roasting a big piece of meat, you just kind of have to guess, take the biggest piece and kind of guess where the rest of them are. Because you don't want to keep poking holes in your puff pastry. Kind of one hole is what you want to do, so that way you're not, because every time you poke a hole in the puff pastry, more juice is going to come out. So you just want to kind of like, figure out when you portion, how everybody wants theirs done. Also really simple, and absolutely you can do individual portions. Let's make a little, this gratin here. This is a baby potato and jalapeno gratin. I know you're saying, like, really, Scott? We're using bagged potatoes? Just hold with me, stay with me.
Again, you're resourceful.
Resourceful, but also, we just took all that time. I'm like on the beef Wellington, like give yourself a break, right? So we have these fantastic own brand H-E-B baby potatoes. You could absolutely use our baby fingerlings, baby red potatoes, any of those potatoes that you wanted. I like these because, number one, they're already seasoned. And anytime I get a little oomph in the seasoning department that helps me out, I'll take it. So I'm going to do a little seasoning on this.
I have something to admit I want to come clean.
Is this confession time?
At any given moment at my house, you could find me making a dinner of those potatoes alone. Just
crisp them up, man.
No, I take them out of the microwave and eat them out of the bag. Sometimes I dip them in ketchup.
That's okay.
And that's
okay. All right, low heat on our pan, a little duck fat. I'm going to throw the garlic and thyme. I think it's a little prettier, so I'm going to do this with the garlic and thyme. I'm going to give a little essence of garlic and thyme. So I'm going to throw the thyme and the garlic in whole. And this is just, normally you would chop this up, you would add it in there, the thyme you'd beat, but I want to show you the sprigs, and I also want to show you, this is one of my favorite ways to cook, where you flavor the oil or the fat you're going to use. So about 3 tablespoons, do a little more duck fat. You don't have to use duck fat. If you want to use olive oil, butter, you can use your favorite oil. It doesn't have to be duck fat. I just feel like with potatoes, it works really, really well together. So I'm going to fry up this whole. I love this technique because what I'm basically doing here is I'm going to fry the garlic. I've crushed them because I want to allow all those essential oils, but I'm also going to leave the thyme whole because the springs, is it spring yet? Nope, still winter, Scott. Sprigs have a lot of flavor, and so when I roast those and kind of toast them up, you're going to hear some popping in a second. That's totally normal. There's a lot of water content in those fresh leaves, so you want those stems to kind of flavor that, so then I can remove all this, and the duck fat is like completely infused with all that flavor, and we can take out all those specks, which makes it a little cleaner on presentation. The last thing that's going in this, we're going to cook this down, because Charlotte's not a big fan of the raw garlic flavor. I'm going to add our heavy cream, and we're making a custard that's going to go over the top of our potatoes. Let's go over here while that's cooking. I'm gonna let that all fry up. Charlotte, keep an eye on my my garlic and my thyme over there. All right, so the potatoes, they're already cooked, already ready to go. So I've microwaved them like Charlotte did. Now at this point, Charlotte, this is ready to eat. Hup, hup. She's not looking. She's not looking. Hup,
I am.
Hup,
oh yeah, throw me.
Hup.
Yes.
You know,
delicious.
It doesn't always work in rehearsal. Sometimes we hit lights, but sometimes it works. All right, I'm gonna smash. So we have 2 bags of potatoes, 32 ounces. We're going to smash potatoes. Why? Because you're going to see in a second, we need a little more surface area out of this. So we're going to smash them down because we want it to soak up everything because we're making kind of a bread pudding, if you will. So I'm going to take my potatoes, the one potato, and I'm going to kind of coat the bottom of the pan with these kind of smashed potatoes. The bread is going to go in the middle, and I'm using the H-E-B jalapeno cheese bread, which if you've never tried it, it's fantastic. They usually sell out pretty fast, which is why it's always, when you go, it's usually somebody like me that's buying all of it because I'm going to do something with it. And if I did and you shop at my store, I'm sorry. But here we go. We're going to smash all these up, leave them on the bottom here. They'll just get a little smash. And you can honestly, if you don't want to use the knife, you can just take the kids and they can get some aggression out. Little smash. Smash the potatoes. Again, you may be thinking to yourself, you're not using gloves, and that's true because this is going to go into a 400-degree oven, and it's going to kill whatever could possibly be on my hands, so it's completely food safe because we're cooking it again. I wanted to assuage any fears you had of me smashing them by hand. This is actually fun for the kids. All right, so I'm going to take half the potatoes, put them on the bottom here, kind of spread them out. So there we go. So there's our bottom half, if you can see that, Rob. Now I'm going to add the, you see that? You hear the sound over there? The sound of the popping leaves. This is what's going to soak up the custard. So the bread is going to go in the center, and it's going to kind of create this beautiful pillow for us. This is 4 cups of the chopped jalapeno cheese bread, and then the rest going over the top here is our potatoes. Potatoes are just going to fit in the top here. I'm just going to smash them down and lay them all over there. We're making fast work. Last thing I want to show you is the caramel, which doesn't take very long, but I want to get you to the point where you can kind of see it, and I want to make sure I have time. Do I have time, Charlotte? Do I have time? This is going to go in the oven in a second. I can smell the garlic.
Yes.
Can you smell it?
Yes, it smells so good in here. I'm starving, and I only got one little potato.
I can't wait to show you. In a second, I'm going to open up this oven, and I'm going to kind of show you this Wellington and how it's working out. Now, the Wellington in rehearsal cooked pretty quickly because I seared them a little bit longer.
It's all right.
This one may not be done in time, but don't worry. I have one that's it's going to be perfectly ready right at the 6:50 hour almost.
So
right,
I'm going to give a little bit of like some culinary knowledge, something to put in your pocket to impress your friends, wow your friends. A gratin is a culinary technique in which an ingredient is topped with a brown crust, usually made of breadcrumbs and grated cheese, egg, or butter. So essentially, folks,
anything.
You could put anything in a dish, cover it with breadcrumbs and butter, and put it under the broiler, and you have just gratin something.
So then we call it a tater tot gratin, like that. All right, so you see what I did? The thyme and garlic are discarded. And this oil now has all that flavor infused. So I'm going to add the cream. A little poppy pop. And let that just come to a simmer, and that's going to get poured over the top of our, oh yes. Beautiful. That's going to come to a simmer. I'm going to let that go high. Always, 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 if you're ever walking away from a pan of cream or milk or anything, stand close by or have somebody watch it if you've got to run somewhere, because the last thing you want to do is have the overflow of the milk solid everywhere all over your place. Okay, this is it. So we're going to do the cheese. I'm going to do a little bit of layer cheese. I got some Asiago, I got a little Parmesan, but basically anything you got in your fridge will completely work, or your favorite cheese.
Hey, homie.
Yeah.
Did you, that borosilicate
Oh, my
pan?
borosilicate.
Yeah.
I didn't even say.
You didn't say it, but I got it for you. Did you put oil in that dish?
I did not.
Nope.
Just straight in.
Straight in.
Straight
okay.
in. We're going straight in.
Your fans want to know.
Straight in, no oil, because we've got this custard, and so there's enough. We got some good fat in here. Everything has got, the potatoes have a little bit of fat on them. I'm not too worried about everything sticking, and you kind of want that like, whoop. Now, could you butter said borosilicate kitchen and table dish? Yes, you absolutely could. Would you be adding more flavor and helping it out? Yes, you would. And in fact, Charlotte, because we had this conversation earlier, I happen to have all this butter because you never know how these classes are going to go. I had some butter sitting out at room temperature, and I'm going to show you this real fast. While the cream is coming to a simmer, I'm going to take a stick of very, very soft butter. And this is a stick.
Yes.
This is not in your recipe. I'm just going to add a little bit of butter over the top because why not? It's
you know what
holiday.
I call that? Insurance.
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 I'll make sure everybody likes this. All right, big pads. If that guy's a little too big, I need to spread him out. I would have grated this, but you could imagine what that would be like, a hot mess. All right, nice soft butter right over the top. All right, here comes our cream. Look at this, look at this.
Ooh. Oh, look. Ooh, you are so lucky. Listen, the boil over happens to everybody once in their life.
A little bit of wind over the top, calm it all down. And no, I did not spit on it. I just simply very gently blew over the top of the cream to keep it from bubbling over. Okay, that is that. This is ready to go. This goes in the oven. A little more cheese on top, obviously. We got to make it, we're calling it a gratin.
The
right?
little pieces of bread and like potato that are sticking up on the top.
The duck fat, the garlic, the thyme.
So good, and they get crunchy like little croutons.
Boom, here you go. 400 degrees, nice and bubbly till it's set, and then let it come out and it'll completely set. All right, let's make the caramel sauce.
Let's make
sweet.
this
Too sweet. Okay.
caramel
All right, move all these guys out of the way here. I've made quite a mess of my station over here, Chef. All right, I have 4 ingredients to make this. 4 ingredients. Corn syrup, sugar, cream, and butter. This is a classic caramel sauce. I'm going to add a little bit of salt to my mixture here. I'm in a small little K&T bowl. That's my sugar. I'm going to show you a trick. I hate working with corn syrup. However, this is my hack whenever you have to work with really sticky things. Honey, corn syrup, molasses, any of that stuff. A little nonstick spray right in your tablespoon. A little bit of the corn syrup.
I love that trick.
It'll just get it out easier and you're not having to fight so much with it. It's just so much easier. Boy, if these are the lessons in life I wish I'd learned earlier. To be like, if you spray your spoon.
Homie, I got to ask. You threw that gratin in there?
Yes.
In the oven. You literally threw it in there.
I chucked it in there.
You chucked it. What is the temp and for how long?
I'm at about 400 degrees.
Okay.
My recipe, let's check the recipe.
Let's check our recipe.
400 degrees, I'm right on with that. And
there
it's everything is cooked. So we don't have any raw eggs. It's just the cream kind of set up 25 to 30 minutes.
Great.
Until it looks bubbly and nice. And then let it rest, and I'll show you what happens. Once it rests, all that fantastic cream is going to soak up everything, and all that cheese will be melted over the top. All right, we're going to turn this on.
Okay.
Now, this is in full disclosure, we're using a 75,000 BTU stove. It's easy to make caramel sauce, I think, on a less rageful stove. A little easier to do that. But the caramel sauce is actually really easy, and I made one earlier just to kind of show you guys, but it's really, really easy to do. And the reason why we're adding corn syrup, in case anybody's wondering, you would typically make a caramel sauce by just adding a little bit of sugar to a pan. The problem is when you just do straight sugar, no water, nothing, it's a little more temperamental, and you have like what do you call them, Charlotte? The sugar crystals form?
Yeah,
give us the science on that, Chef.
The science. So what happens is when you add water and when you add water to table sugar,
right?
Some things happen, right? And so what happens is the sugar tends to it wants to recrystallize, and so it's like Legos, right? Imagine
trying to find its way to.
They want to get back into this Lego, this wall formation, And so what happens is when you add in corn syrup, it has some longer glucose chains, and they act as interfering molecules, and they prevent or change the shape of the other molecules or the Legos so they don't fit together to build that.
So if I'm understanding you, the Legos, they don't want to go to the Sistar system.
They do not want to go to the
They wanna
Sistar
avoid-
system.
so we're
Basically,
adding
we've
that-
changed the shape of the Legos so they won't
You said the Lego
crystallize
thing, so I was just
and you
going
won't
with the
get
Lego.
a gritty.
I like the Lego description. I like the, I think you avoid the Sistar system, and everything is awesome. Everything is awesome. And that song is going to get stuck inside your head, as well as that one. All right, we're going to let this go. I'm going to turn up the heat a little bit. So the one thing you have to be worried about with caramel, obviously, is obviously watching it. So earlier in the rehearsal, I walked away, and then I smelled the effervescent smell of something acrid and burning, and I walked over and I was like, that would be the caramel sauce. So don't leave, just like cream, don't leave it unattended, because you will find yourself kind of going, all right, what just happened? I'm also going to show you my, my other caramel sauce that I made, and I'm going to put it in this guy. This guy? No, this guy. I've got so many great K&T pans, I don't even know which ones to use anymore. All right, I've got this little guy, and I want to show you my caramel sauce from earlier. We're going to keep this going. I'm going to turn up the heat a little bit. I'm just going to watch it. All you're looking for, and this is where like the kind of watch out comes in, because it will go from perfect caramel to overcooked, burnt. Like imagine you want that creme brulee, that like the little burnt sugar, that great flavor, and it can go very quickly the other directions. I'm going to let this go for a second. I'm going to let this heat up, and I want to show you. Here's my caramel sauce I made earlier. Ready for this? Look at how thick this one got. Also want to show you the color of that. So we're going to heat this guy up. This is something, I could have kept this in the fridge for at least a week, and every time I want to use it, just throw it in a microwave safe dish and you're good to go. I'm going to let this go, low heat.
Look at that, look how it spreads. Ooh.
It's fantastic. All right, these are ready. So I want to show you this. This is the one we put in earlier. Where's my towel? I'm going to get another one. This is our, we're at 79 degrees internal temp. So you see, everybody's ovens are very different, right? Everybody's ovens have a hot spot. So I'm going to simply just give this a little rotation. Do you see what this is looking like, though?
A little steam coming off that
But
bad
you see
boy.
our little, come on, there's your little marks there we made, your little X marks. I mean, yes, could an artist have done better and made something like swans on the
Tompkins,
top?
can you
probably?
please stop talking about my friend like that? That is a
What's your
beautiful
friend?
Wellington.
Well, tell your friend to make better designs. All right, let's plate. Should we do that? Let's do this. I'm ready to eat. I'm ready. I want to show you this one because this one was a, still pretty hot.
Ooh.
This one was ready to go. So here is the,
Ooh la
this one is
la.
rested. So here's our, little bit, you can kind of see a little design, but you see
Little
that
tan lines.
beautifully tan. That puff pastry is ready to go. I can move this out of the way. Let me see this. All right, you see our caramel sauce? See how it's moving? See how we're already kind of getting that color? That's because I'm really picking up the heat. I'm going to try and show this to you in very fast, very quick time.
You got plenty of time. You don't have to rush. You got plenty of time.
And this caramel sauce is going to get soft in a second. All right, we're going to move it around. So again, that insurance of our, look at that. Look how fast this goes. So you'll have your butter and your cream standing by. This is where, now sugar burns are the worst burns.
No,
Charlotte
it's
will
like
tell
napalm for sure.
They are the worst. You do not want a sugar burn. So when you add the butter, back it away for a second, let it sputter, let it do its thing, and then come back over and check it. When you add the butter, you want it to be at a little bit lower heat. Okay, we see where I'm at right now? This thing is so fast. I'm telling you, the stove is like money. All right, so I don't want to walk away. So you see where I'm at right now? That beautiful kind of sheen. I'm not quite there yet, but it's still got some time to cook. So at this point, I'm going to have a little bit more of a blonde caramel. I can smell it. It smells good. Butter's going in. It will eventually. There it is. So watch. So it's going to sputter.
Ooh.
I've already been burned once today, so I have nothing to fear. So it's going to look messy. Don't freak out at this point. It's going to start to, like, you'll see, we just added fat into a fatless basic thing. And so it's going to start to get a little bit messy and weird, but see how it's still kind of coloring? We're going to keep going.
Ooh.
Keep going. I'm going to wait for a second before I add in my, we've introduced a little bit of fat to it. See how that is? Now, when you add the cream, there's a second where you're going to be like, oh, I killed it, I wrecked it. Just don't worry about it. It's going to separate a little bit, and that's okay. 3/4 of a cup, heavy whipping cream. This is where you want to back up, because what's happening here is extremely hot. So I'm going to kind of keep moving this around, and that steam will get you. All right, keep moving, and eventually what you're going to see is the beauty of this. It's really separated. If you could feel this right now on my spatula, it's really separated. But in like 15 seconds, it's all going to emulsify. You ready? 15. Count, Charlotte. Here we go.
13, 12, 11, 10, 9,
Faster.
8,
Count faster.
7,
It's
6,
emulsified quickly.
5, 4, 3, 2. One.
That's it. That's caramel sauce. Just walk
Yo,
away.
I got scared. I wasn't
The only thing I
gonna
want to do
count right.
is I said I was going to make a salted caramel sauce. All we have in it at this point is full sugar. I'm going to add some salt. Now,
Yes, please.
salt to taste, just to bring out the flavors a little bit. If you want to go full salted caramel, you're going to need to add a little bit more salt because there is a lot of sweet. We've only got sweet, so a little bit more in there. That is it. Now, as this cools, I'm going to start cutting everything, and I'm going to show you. It's going to go, see how wet this is? This is what this became. You see how thick this is?
I don't know.
That
It's so
cooling will turn to
satisfying
this.
watching you make that.
Caramel sauce is super cool.
Yeah.
All right, let me get on the cutting board. Hang on
Okay,
one second.
so
There we go.
Gordy's #1 tip
Gordy's #1 tip.
for beef Wellington is not to cut it too thin.
Yes.
I'm sure
well,
you
don't wanna
already
do
knew
what-
that, but I just thought that maybe.
Did you see Did you see that? Do you see how I deplated that one?
Yeah,
How I
that's
kind of
really
leaned it
smooth.
over. Because yes, you can see there's a little bit of moisture in here, but this is not. This is all very, very dry and very, very well.
Yeah.
Now there's moisture as we collected, which is
course.
totally fine. What plate do we say we're going to go with? Go with this guy. How's this guy looking? He looks all right.
Yes, please.
Serrated blade. You ready for this?
Okay. The heat is on. No. Okay, I won't sing ever again.
All right. Why do you want to use a serrated blade? Because you don't want to.
What?
You don't want to mess it up.
Show
All right,
me,
so there's,
show
so
me,
let me
show
show
me,
you.
let
So
me
this is
see.
the end piece, right? A little
Oh,
more
let
well
me-
cooked, but
I
wait,
can't handle it.
wait, just wait.
Mm.
That real thick crust on the
Show
bottom.
me.
Wait,
Oh, I
wait,
want to see it.
Wait, wait.
Come on.
Just wait, wait.
I know everybody
wait.
feels the same way I do.
I'm going to show you here as we're going. All right, here we go. This is the beauty of when I told you you could kind of do different styles of how much different cooked it is. So these are your smaller pieces, right? Can you see
Okay.
that? You see how they're a little more. This is probably like this is going toward your medium well.
So
But
like
there's very little pink. It needs to settle. It just came out of the thing.
Gary
Air
likes it
needs
in
to get it.
Gary. Okay.
And then we're going. Who likes theirs well done?
Didn't you say Gary did?
No, I said you can't. Oh, did I say Gary?
I think so.
Gary, which Gary? The Gary I know?
Yeah.
Maybe he does like his like that. I feel like he'd be a little more.
Okay, never mind. My bad. All right. Moving on.
All right, this is the other one here. The last little piece here. We got all this stuff cut up. You want to kind of hold it. Look at all that. But look at all the duxelle. Come on. It'll cooperate. And this is just going the whole. Somebody gets the whole back end of this bad boy.
Oh, that's my piece. Yay!
All right, but let me show you this well. Hey, hang on.
Okay.
I did another one.
What?
This is just to show you the differences of what you can do. This guy's rested a little bit more.
Boop.
Boom.
Ooh, did you hear that?
Plunk. That made a distinct plunk sound. This one I believe I cooked a little bit more on the medium. Whoa, look at that's a piece right there. You may think that's like I got gypped. This is all duxelle and buttery puff pastry.
I'll take that too, please. Thank you.
This is a lot of time to set up.
Wee!
So, difference in cooking time, same exact recipe, different thermometer, different cooking times. You see that? So that's more like that. Now, the more I go toward the back end, you're going to see more pink like that. So if you like it a little more well or you like it a little more pink, either way totally works. I'm going to put this guy just right on top because it's too pretty
I
not to.
mean, that like.
Okay. A little
That's
parsley,
beautiful. Yes,
a little
please.
flake salt.
Yes,
That's
please.
good to go. Let me show you this. Let me move these guys out of the way because I don't need those anymore. A little bit of our delicious Wellington. Now, let me show you this. This guy I know is hot.
Oh, mama.
Here's our casserole, the gratin. Let it rest a little bit. Boom. All right, so you
Can
notice
you
all the liquid that was in there. It is
Take that
basically
back up
soaked
to the sky cam, please. Oh, wait,
Oh, did
no,
I
there
go
we
too
go. We
fast?
got a shot. We
I
got
went
it.
too fast. You got it? You only got to tell Rob once, and he's got it. So this is where we, so look at this. So see all that beautiful, so it all kind of stuck. Look at all this. See all that? All that custard is now like all in there. All right, now the sauce. Charlotte, what kind of pie you want?
Apple,
Apple pie.
my favorite pie.
Like this pie that's already done and sitting here
Yep.
for me? What? How fortuitous for us. All right, I've got I'm going to use the best knife you'd want to use for cutting pie is always your fillet knife, of course. Usually something really skinny like that really helps. That's not the one you want to use. I'm going to use it, though, because I'm going to show you, I'm also going to be lazy. I'm going to cut you a big piece. You want the whole piece?
Yeah,
Let me
have
ask
we
you
met?
this. Ice cream on your pie?
No,
Whipped
I am
cream?
not an a la mode. But I
I'm
would
sorry, I was
do.
looking
I
for
would.
all-
You know what?
So ice cream on the pie?
I would like I would like that with
we'll do a
some of
little
the
ice
caramel
cream on the
sauce.
pie then
Yes,
for you? Okay,
please.
perfect, perfect. I was hoping you would say you love ice cream more than anything else in the world. All right, a little bit of our 1905 ice cream or whatever your favorite ice cream is. Here it is, the finish line. Oh, I let it sit out too long. You know what I was worried about? I was worried about scooping out. No, this is actually perfect for me. I like that because here's why. I want that little bit of drippy ice cream.
Okay, well, that's where we differ, but that's your piece now.
You like solid ice cream. All right, can I show
Yeah.
you this? So let me see. This is a cleaner one with my butter on it. So do you see how this is? Look at how this is kind of dripping. See how it's like it's gotten a little thicker, just as it's been sitting here. This is my caramel sauce. It's ready to go. So I'm gonna love this effect right now. It's gonna melt the ice cream right on top, which is gonna make you even more happy. Fresh salted caramel sauce.
Bangarang, Peter.
Who's that? Who's Peter?
What? Rufio from Hook? Never mind. Okay.
Oh, Hook.
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen that movie since I was a youngin'.
Oh.
Clearly, there's a lot of movies I need to catch up over the holidays, and that being the number one. Hook. Guys, this is it's so easy. The recipes are here to help you out. They're here to guide you along. Do not forget, we've been doing these classes for an entire year, so there's a lot of great footage you can go back and watch on our YouTube channel. Simply go to youtube.com/HEB. Check out all the old stuff. We've done fresh pies, shortest of gingerbread, a lot of great celebrity guests.
Yeah.
Go through, watch it, figure out something else. If you don't like what you see, you can always find something else and all the great recipes and go, you know what, I want to make this, I want to make this. Fantastic, we're there to support you. Don't forget, you can always find our next class on our heb.com/classes. And what is our next class, Charlotte?
Well, I think we might be taking a break for Christmas Day, but we have 12/29. We have a sparkling wine class for the new year.
Oh, wait. All right, I don't want to eat melted vanilla ice cream in front of you guys. That is it, guys. God bless you. Have a very happy and safe holidays. We will see you back in the new year. Also, don't forget to check our website, heb.com/classes, for more great info. We are going to continue these on into 2022. We have our January, February lined up, but you won't see those on the website yet. But stay tuned. Keep checking in. We got a lot of great content yet to come. God bless. Have a happy and safe holidays, and we will see you in the new year on the 29th. Thanks, guys.